Good morning. We're going to get started here and welcome everybody and welcome Cherry Pandak. Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown will introduce her in a few minutes, but I want to say welcome. Any additions or deletions from the agenda?
Yes, I have some additions to the agenda under, well, we already have that one. I would also put under the executive committee and up, no, that would be in closed as well. Never mind, I don't have any.
Anyone else?
Sorry.
Motion for approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. Approval of the minutes for the special board meeting, October 11th.
I'm sorry, I do have one. And that would be, we have a motion to appoint Gary Martin as chair of the finance committee. And I want to also add.
That's on the agenda.
I know, but then I want to do a motion to appoint Greehan Harold as the board secretary.
Isn't that election treasurer and secretary up above?
Yeah.
Can we take a quick?
We need to call for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We can,
Yes, it is. I'm waking up.
that's all right. We might switch those two and do one in a second. That's okay. County administrators update.
Reports in your packet.
Report. Any questions, comments for Mr. Stanley?
Good morning, Greg. This is Gretchen.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Greg.
We miss you.
I miss you too. I'd much rather be down there. It's raining all the time up here.
One comment I saw on the report was under Leech Run Parkway. Was just to maybe emphasize, we need to make sure everybody buys off when they get it done, so we're not here 6 months from now.
I think we're on schedule for Monday for the contractor to be on site, put some sod in the ground, fingers crossed. And, putting sod means we don't have to worry about grass growing. I think the biggest thing is just if we have enough good weather to let the grass get rooted and established. And I think the town's agreed to water it until such time as it is taken hold. So hopefully we'll be done next week.
Well, the design person should certify the project as complete. I don't know if we have a certificate of substantial completion, but they should certify it complete.
They'll have to do that. DEQ will have to do a final inspection, so it'll be a two-step process.
And I did ensure that with Carl Shaver, the engineer, that VDOT and the town were on board with what we're doing out there. VDOT's pretty much out of the picture as it relates to sod and seeding and retention ponds, but the town has certainly been in the loop.
And the EDA kind of gets caught in the middle of all this because we don't get paid until everybody signs off, and we've been paying everybody else, so it's important. The other comment I had was I like your little chart at the bottom. That might be a nice type thing for us to do to keep track of our things.
Two other comments, Mr. Chairman. One is the rezoning on the Equus building. That's a 324,000 square foot warehouse located just next to the RSW Regional Jail. Public hearing will be on November 19th. I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Parsons there to support at the Planning Commission level. This will be at the board level, and would certainly encourage you to attend if you could. The other good news is that looks like the site plans can be moving forward for tearing down the Capital One Bank building there at Riverton Commons and replacing it with a building that looks like it will have 3 tenants. And hopefully over the next month or two, we'll have a little clarity on exactly what's going back in that location.
Thank you. When is the hearing? I'm sorry. When is the hearing?
19th, I believe, the third Tuesday.
Okay. Mr. Brown.
The tourism committee, is that open? Is that something that we could attend and participate in?
It is absolutely an open meeting. certainly encourage, I believe it's 3 o'clock in a town hall when they meet, so it'll be December 11th. And again, that's an effort to get, the county collects lodging tax dollars that have to go towards tourism, the town does as well, the town operates the visitor center. It's really about trying to make sure we leverage our dollars to work together, not in cross purposes. The best example is the new wayfinding assignment system, which is hopefully we've got an approved design. We'll hopefully start moving forward here with construction documents and eventually bidding. But that'll be signage to direct the tourist off the interstate in and around town to our amenities that we have to offer, including Skyline Drive and the Visitor Center and various other golf courses, things like that for the tourists being able to visit. So we're excited about that project. And then also there about advertising dollars and trying to make sure we're working together on that stuff as well. But you're always encouraged, to encourage you to attend.
Good, it'd be great to, I don't know who we would go to get, if we could just be notified of meetings, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be very appreciated.
Anyone else? Okay, accept the report. Town of Front Royal report, Mr. Waltz is not here. Any questions you'd like us to relay on the report?
On the facade improvements, I know there's been some discussion about whether or not we could get work done on the outside of the apartment complex.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if that was still a possibility.
This is the Stokes Apartments.
Yes.
They're working in there.
They're working, but they're under contract with us.
Yeah.
To finish yet.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we have a prospect for the apartments to purchase, and I've reached out to the town regarding the facade improvement grant, and it's their belief that the apartment building would be eligible for that grant.
Would not.
Would.
It's, as I understand it, it's a dollar for dollar match up to 15 grand, possibly 20 since it fronts 2 streets. So I've made our prospect aware of that opportunity and we're negotiating.
And the facades are in 2 groups. And we're still in group 1 down there.
Okay.
The EDA did not apply 2 years ago for it, so we would be at the end of group 2, but that group is probably going to come in about 6 months, and I'm very confident that there's going to be funding available there when we get some of the facade prices on the facade committee. Some of the owners have withdrawn. And that's going to give us more flexibility in there with my facade committee hat on for a minute. And when we have that, I think there'll be room for the EDA to apply on this property, or a new owner to apply.
Can we bring up should we bring it up now, the issue of whether we can rent the, whether the EDA can rent the apartments there?
I think that's a question for our attorney to look into.
Well, yeah,
I think that's on the list,
Yes, it is.
it is, okay.
but yes, that is a question.
Right.
Have to get anyone else on the town report?
Well, I wish the town manager well in his new endeavors.
Yes, in Ohio.
Will the interim town manager be attending, provide updates?
He will certainly be made aware of the meeting and the schedule. I don't know what all his schedule will be and when he will attend. I'm not certain. And I don't know what their process is going to be for a permanent manager. Felicia has been trying to come when she can, and we might get Jeremy Camp to come to some of the meetings. He's planning and development director down there, and get at least one of them to come down and be aware. I don't know if the acting manager will be available or not.
Thank you.
Before we go into our committee reports, I wanted to comment, we're coming up on Mr. Parsons and Ms. Henderson's 6-month anniversaries. And we've had a number of changes in the board, and we'll kind of reorganize how we're doing things. And I would really like to thank everyone, both staff and the board members, for their work on these committees and trying to move some projects forward. I think we've made a lot of progress. We've got a long ways to go, but we are beginning to get some structure in what we have, and I appreciate your efforts to do that.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Brown, the Executive Committee.
All right, we've got a couple things that I want to go over first. I want to ask everyone on the board, and particularly the committee chairs, to look at their parts of EDA and provide their top priorities for roughly the next 6 months. We have a meeting coming up on November 15th, and I'd like to have them presented then. It'll be the start of strategic planning, but we really needed at this point to figure out what we need budgeting wise and establish priorities and what we can do. So just your top priorities that you think need to be done in the next 6 months would be the critical components of that. So if everyone can do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Second thing is we have our new attorney here. I thought I would walk through what the process was. We came up with an RFQ. We had 4 bids from firms around the Commonwealth. Sharon was by far the best fit as we looked at it. She had a very impressive interview. We got into the weeds on some pretty technical questions, and she did a fine job of showing both her style and her breadth of knowledge about the issues that we face here. Then we negotiated a contract, which we now have and is ready for signature. I'd like to have a motion that we approve Cherry Pandak as the EDA attorney. And
Do we need to say the firm?
You can say the firm, Greehan, Taves Pandak.
yep.
So that makes anybody else.
It's actually, I guess we're hiring Greehan, Taves Pandak. Would be correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you going forward.
Thank you. All right. Second is Tom has stepped down as treasurer, and we are sorry to see you leaving. I understand, but it has opened up a spot, and I would like to make a motion that we approve Jory Martin as treasurer of the EDA.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous.
Okay. I would like another motion with Jory. It's probably better that she wear the treasurer hat and not both treasury and secretary.
She can't attest to herself.
I cannot.
So I would like to nominate Greg Harold to be secretary of EDA.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Then I finally, I want a motion to appoint Cherry Martin as chair of the finance committee.
Is there a second?
I just did that.
I don't.
No, we did,
Did the treasurer. He's
Now
doing
we're
them as two
finance
separate.
committee, just to shift
I thought we done.
We did it as treasurer. We haven't done it as chair of the committee. Which I have thought the treasurer was automatically chair, but
Okay.
we can do this too. I thought it was an automatic, because treasurer was chair of the finance committee. But we can confirm that.
Why don't we go ahead and do a quick,
Confirm.
let's go ahead and do a motion. If it's unneeded, we don't.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed, same sign, motion is unanimous, so you've been confirmed twice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's my report.
Jeff, I think we need a resolution to put our name on the signature things and take my name off of them. Because it should be the treasurer signing. I know it's in the bylaws, it's the chairman, vice chairman, and treasurer, but I think the banks are probably gonna want a resolution. They did when I was elected.
Okay?
Do we have the resolution?
Well, we don't have a resolution. I think we can do it with a motion. What we really need on the United CDs, we would need to be able to add Jory as a authorized signator to those CDs. I think if we memorialize a motion in the minutes, that will suffice for United.
Well, don't we need a motion for all of our accounts?
We
That
could do that, just do it.
the treasurer, Jory as treasurer is now authorized to sign as the treasurer.
Right, because since we're now with Atlantic Union, with all of our cash accounts, I think we can get away with that motion. If Atlantic were to need a written,
They will, we'll
She
have to
still
sign
needs
some
to-
sort of a
She
written.
needs to sign the invoices still, so that.
Right.
So, I mean, she needs to be able to do that as well.
so I think if we memorialize it in the minutes for now, that would do. If the county and Atlantic Union want a written, if they want something else besides the minutes, we could come back, we could do the resolution at that time.
So
Or we
the
could
bylaws
kind
don't
of-
cover that?
The bylaws do not, I'm sorry.
I would say normally the banks do require a separate resolution, even if it's in the bylaws.
Okay.
They want something that memorializes, Dr. Patterson's correct. So I think it can be a general, it doesn't have to be specific to the account. I just say that.
We have a template, we can just change the name and print it off. and
So
have
if
everyone
we
sign it.
approve the resolution, the motion, then that would allow us to sign the bank resolutions.
Correct.
So I would request a motion authorizing that.
So it would be a motion to add Jory Martin to all bank accounts
As a signatory.
as a signatory. And do we need to take Tom off
Yes.
and to take Tom Patterson off?
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now, this should cover all of the resolutions.
Thank you, Tom.
So when they come in, we just need to fill them out. We don't need to call them in a meeting.
Right,
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Brown?
Nothing on executive.
All right. Finance Committee.
Alrighty, Finance Committee, we did solicit bids for 1325 Progress Drive. We went out to 5 local agencies. They were State Farm, Erie, Cincinnati, which was Stoneburner and Carter, our current, Utica, and Nationwide. The bids came back in. We did do apples to apples. You'll see on the report that the building valuation, I did add to the policy a sewer backup. Also made sure we had inflation guard, demolition, increased cost of construction, all of those things that end up costing us more money if we're not covered. We also had the income coming in that if there's a loss in the building, there's $26,000 of income coming in, so our rent will be able to be paid. So that being said, made sure that it was where we needed to be. McGreevy Agency Erie was the lowest package, and I would ask that the board approve the insurance be placed with Erie through the McGreevy Agency.
Is that a motion?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, sir.
No,
Oh, and that there was a concern with Erie on whether they could inspect the building in time, but there was not an issue with that. I was able to provide them with the information that they needed, the loss run report and several others, so we're good to go.
Just answered my question. Thank you.
So that's it. So if we are, if the board is ready to make a motion, I would recommend that we go with Erie Insurance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in
Hey,
favor?
Ed,
Yes.
I've got a comment there for
Yes.
somebody or a question. Do all the insurance policies run concurrently, meaning that do they start and expire at the same time? And if they don't, what is the overlap period? And if we cancel the policy, is there any rebate that we would get for advanced premiums paid, if there were any?
Okay, if my memory will catch all the questions you asked me, I'll try to answer them in order. All of
Please,
our
'cause I can't remember if I can remember that.
all of our policies do not run concurrently. This particular policy expires on the 30th of October. The new insurance with Erie, if approved, will begin on October 30th. We are working towards at some point maybe switching all of our policies to starting and stopping on the same day and bidding them out as a package. We just haven't gotten there yet. But to answer your question, if we had gone over on this policy because of an issue of inspecting the building, we would have gotten a rebate back. We would have canceled the policy later and then gotten a rebate back on the insurance. And I think that was all you asked me, but if you ask me something else, let me know.
Okay, so I guess the motion is to move forward only on this particular policy? Or
That
you
is
ask for a
yes.
blanket motion?
Yes, that is correct, for 1325. That's the only policy that is expiring. The next one that will come up is on the Stokes Mark, and that's at the end of December.
Sure, thank you.
Do we have any desire to consolidate all of our insurance under?
Working towards that. I just couldn't wrap my head around doing that, to be perfectly honest with you now. So I just took the.
We're just not there yet.
I just wasn't there
Yeah,
yet.
this one was due, well, like I said,
Yes.
at the end of this month, so
Yeah.
you needed to get on that one. But,
End of, next week is the date. So.
yeah, and then the next one's aren't due till December 22nd on the Stokes market, so we got a couple months there to figure out.
And I might be able to work on getting the insurance consolidated, and we could, we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
In general, if you consolidate, can you generally get leverage in terms of pricing?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous.
Next item, it kind of dovetails in, and with Greg as well, that solar panels. Been looking at the solar panels. I did contact Rappahannock Electric and did also talk to Mr. Stoll, who had come out.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the organization I work for, we're currently doing a large-scale project with Secure Futures. So I don't know if there's any sort of a conflict with me participating in this discussion, or...
You might want to just make that as a disclosure if you feel like you can participate objectively. You might be able to go ahead and proceed, otherwise just disqualify yourself. And then we'll give you a form later to fill out as well. Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
No problem.
They aren't making a bid, by the way.
I'm sorry?
They're not making a bid on anything.
No.
So.
No.
But anything that
Okay.
is relative to an opinion or any action that you might
Gotcha.
take,
Gotcha.
yeah, thank you.
First, talked to Hugh Stoll, who was most helpful. And he's the one who gave us what we actually have on our roof. and gave an estimate of what it's worth and made some possible options of what we could do with the solar panels. From there, I contacted Rappahannock Electric, and Lee Brock, who's head of the solar division down in Fredericksburg. She was kind enough, we spent quite a bit of time on the phone, and she agreed. She has put out to all of her vendors that do solar work what our situation is and the fact that we may be looking to sell it, to get it off the roof or some other creative options. And I have gotten 3 solar companies who have contacted me. We are in, I don't have enough to tell you, but we've had some very interesting propositions. They want to come up and take a look. So where we are right now is, after talking to everyone, after discussing with Rappahannock as well, I would strongly recommend that we move towards getting these panels off of our roof so we can do repairs to our roof, that we can then move forward to getting tenants that are that create economic development in our building and in this community. So I would ask the board that they allow me to continue, or anyone else who wants to work with me with these solar companies, to come up with a creative solution to remove
There's
these
a
panels.
couple of numbers I think you ought to say that he felt that turnkey was only, that the system was only worth $250,000, which is appreciably less than
What we paid
than
for
what
it.
we paid for it.
Correct.
And then the other options that he had, I think it's worth reading those. It's got to be removed to fix the roof. There's no question
Yes.
about it. The question is, do you sell it and take the money from that to repair the roof? Is one option. The auction it as it is and have that part of the auction that they take it off the roof
Absolutely.
as an option. And then whether or not you want to reinstall it. He only said it was 14 in a year, that there may be $14,000 worth of electricity generated. So
Because we don't get reimbursed.
well, no, but you can still put meters in if you did that. If you can work out with the town a situation that you'll be able to sell it back to the town, which can't be done. That can be done with, if you out with Rappahannock, then you could, but the town has a clause that they
won't do that at all.
No, not at this point. We might be able to explore that. One of the solar folks that I was talking with had been working with, or has worked with Blackstone, Virginia, and they were able to work out for one of their customers. And it certainly is an option. I haven't taken it totally off the table. But after talking with all of these companies, I can tell you almost every one of them has said our best option is to get them off the roof and to try to sell the system, as it is. That's really the way we need to go. There has been some very creative ways to get it off the roof, I did not realize how expensive it was to actually remove that equipment. We're working towards coming up with an option that doesn't cost the EDA any money to take them off, so that would be a real plus for us. And
the estimate of likely you'd probably get $25,000 if you're lucky. Is that correct?
That basically, we are not going to get a lot of money for these panels, absolutely. But there are some things that truly we could make. I hate the expression, but I'm going to say it: lemonade out of lemons. There are some very creative things that have been discussed with a couple of these companies that are not far-fetched and would benefit the community and benefit the EDA. So but I would like, at least, maybe not necessarily a motion, but I would like to at least get a consensus that it's all right for me to move forward from a financial end.
Let's look at your
and
options
also-
for a minute, if I could. This $14,000 a year value, then it would take us approximately 32.7 years if there's no additional investment.
Yeah, exactly, to recover.
So in my mind, I look at your 5 options and I kind of set 4 and 5 to the side, and I'm looking at 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know that if you are ready to go with creating this creative RFP, or you want to do some more work first.
I'd like to do some more work. You
So
know, I'd
you
just
just
like
want-
to be able to meet with these folks, you know, individually and continue to report back. You know, I'm a timeline kind of gal, so my goal is to try to have this system and our decision certainly by the first of the year, and to move within the first quarter of next year to get this going. I mean, if we could do it sooner, fine, but most of the solar companies, well, actually all of them that I've talked to, the fourth quarter is a very busy one for them, so they'll fit us in, we'll be working with it, but a plan more than likely would not be presented for the board to review until maybe December or January's meeting, and then to move forward with it. That's just my timeline.
So is it the consensus of the board that we should continue to proceed with this? and
Oh, wait a
allow
minute,
Mr.
your attorney has
Okay.
some
Mr.
comments.
Chair, I didn't have an opportunity to talk to Ms. Martin about this, but I might suggest under possible option that the language that you would consider is to bring back a draft RFP for the board's consideration. If that's, you want to give her some direction, and you can be pretty creative in an RFP, but I think maybe just calling it a draft RFP instead of a somewhat ambiguous is probably a better use of terms.
Okay, thanks.
And with
Hey,
that,
Dr. Daley?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Real quick, I just want to make a comment. Jory's done a lot of work on this, which is great, but I also just want to consider or bring it up to Jory that, you know, granted, we're only going to get X amount of dollars out of this, but there is a value added to the building for having that solar up there in the event that we ever want to consider selling the Kendrick Lane building in itself. You know, if there's a $11,000 to $14,000 value in power, that payoff is pretty quick. You know, for a tenant, if we're only going to get 40 out of it or 25 out of it, you know, in a resale market, whatever the case may be. So we just need to evaluate the long-term objective of our real estate holdings as it relates to the marketability.
So that you're saying the value would be to the tenant to be able to tell the tenant they can have this solar energy instead of their electric.
Correct, or even a buyer if we ever broach the subject of selling the asset. If we ever get out of being able to sell the asset property or that building separately, there is a value added to that building and having that system in place.
So I guess we should leave all options on the table and see where
Well,
we
it's
go.
something to consider to keep in mind. We're gonna keep losing money on it, but if it does help us attract a tenant, I think is what Greg suggested.
It just needs to be evaluated, that's all.
Just keep it in the mix.
Okay.
Okay.
Then just one other thing, it's my understanding as it relates to, you know, we had talked about billing our tenants for the solar energy, but I believe that would run afoul of the code as it relates to, we're not allowed to compete with the town of Front Royal in providing electricity. So if we were to derive a financial benefit from the solar panels as it relates to our tenants, then we would probably need our new attorney to review the legality of
Even if it's on our side of the meter?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's on our side of the meter, and what was really interesting about one, and I don't know if our meter is an older meter, but all of the solar companies said that actually, if we don't have a net meter, if it's an older one, the solar actually may be costing us money. Simply because it generates during the day, but at night, in other words, it literally costs us money when the building is empty, because it literally reverses back and we end up being charged for energy that we don't use. It sounded bizarre, but all of them said the same thing. They said if we have an older meter, and I did not have a chance to get in touch with you to ask you if this was a new meter or one of the older meters, if it's like an original or not.
As far
But
as
it's,
the
it's been a very interesting discussion on the solar. So I've learned a lot. I have a lot more to learn. Certainly, Greg, I think you're exactly right. As far as if we were going to sell this building, that we could maybe use it as an asset.
Sure.
But charging the tenant, if we're paying the electric bill to the town, what we do with inside our contract, I would think, and I know this is a Sharon question, but our leases, I believe, state that they pay utilities. So the upshot is that anybody that would come in, we could bill them back, I would think, by square footage or any other means that we agreed on.
Well, the simple thing to do would be just to raise rents based on.
We could do that too,
That's
raise the
gonna-
rents.
Then you're not talking about providing electricity. So I think you can do it. The issue is really whether it's good value. Now, I would say that the way we look at this is not what we've already invested, because that's money down the stream, if you will. But it's the cost of taking it down, the cost of putting it back up, and then amortizing how long it's gonna take to recoup that money. And that'd be the better way to look at it.
And I was incredibly surprised how expensive it is labor-wise to take down and put up a system.
Did you get an estimate for that?
I actually did from one. One company said that to take the solar off the roof would be somewhere between $55,000 and $65,000.
I think you might, in addition to talking to
Now, that's only one, so, I have to talk to others. So.
Does the roof need to be replaced or repaired?
We're hoping to be repaired at this point.
How do we
Haven't had a
determine
chance. Well, we're gonna have to get up there and really look.
We've had one roofing company give us a free estimate just so we'd have a range of what the finances would take to replace the entire roof on this entire building.
Is that what needs to be done?
No, but that cost would be somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000.
So what needs to be done?
I believe, in my humble opinion, we should repair the roof, especially on the other end of the building.
Yeah.
We have one leak in this office
Yeah.
there. The regional council has none. Suite C has one small
in that
leak.
corner.
So I think.
So what do the repairs cost? What's the estimate for the repairs?
I'm waiting on them to get back to me, but of course it'll be substantially less than that. I don't have a figure yet, but I've asked for that a couple times.
Have they been on the other building?
Yes.
So we can get an estimate there, and then also, as you and I talked, it would make sense to go ahead and have maybe the three bidders that bid on 1325 go and, and look, and then start getting in some proposals for repair. And if it can be done if we can do some of the repairs without taking the system off, but I think we're gonna have to.
A lot of the leaks are around the perimeter
Yeah, they
over
are.
there, so, but yeah, honestly, they're gonna have to come up to repair.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about it, because where leaks show up in the building is never where the leak actually is. It's
Right,
outside.
runs laterally and
Yeah.
You might, as you continue to work on these solar panels, consult with Mr. Baker a little bit too. He's got some ideas here.
Next issue,
Go ahead.
the First Bank and Trust line of credit, there's a stay, and, I wasn't gonna say anything except that the attorneys and we're still working on the court.
Yeah, go ahead. I had a question back on this. How connected is removal of the solar panels and deciding what we do with them contingent on getting the roof replaced? Because I think we need, at least over on the other side, we need the roof replaced, or not replaced, but repaired before we realistically can rent them and do the necessary.
You cannot, at this point, in my humble opinion, you cannot do repairs to the roof without taking the solar panels off. That's where we are.
That's
But
why.
you mean taking them all off? You can't just, if we're just talking about one spot here, You can't take a group off right where that leak is?
Grade's a good question, and I don't have enough information to give you an
A
answer,
roofer
but I will
would be
find out.
able
Right.
Exactly.
to figure that out.
And so we'll figure that out.
The good news is the panels aren't,
They aren't tied down, yeah.
yeah, they just have block laying on the little feet of each panel. Just hope we don't have a derecho.
So there's no frame, basically the panels are essentially completely horizontal.
Horizontal.
Right,
So
they're
there's
just
no
sitting
A-frame,
there.
there's no structure under the panels.
Right, I can show you some pictures actually.
Going back to your comment on the First Bank and Trust, just that we're still in negotiations there, we're working on that.
Jeff may have other comments about it.
You can scroll.
First Bank and Trust. Anything else other than to say we're in discussions with them?
Okay, so that's, yes, I don't believe at this moment that we have the stand-down agreement in place, but they're working on it, and there doesn't seem to be any concern about the fact that we passed the deadline. So, in that sense, I think we're set on that, and the discussion on the future of how we, whether we renegotiate our loans, refinance in some fashion, there haven't been any substantive discussions as of yet.
Okay. One other finance item, if that's everything.
Well, the last item for me is just an update, is that, I told you last month that we would have financials for this month. Obviously, I was wrong. But we are working towards, we'll do the write-offs or be doing those today. And they had asked that that be first priority. But the good news is that we will have them for November 15th. I finished doing the coding from the EDA budget to the county codes. So I will give that to Heather, and hopefully she'll be able to then run financials minus the balance sheet for July through October.
First quarter.
So just to clarify, when you say financials, these are 2019.
2019 from July forward, we haven't been back since, from January of last year to July. It's just starting through this fiscal year, July 1.
So we know, we can tell what we spent here in July. And we can tell what we spent at the county in August, September, and most of October now. But we don't have the starting point.
She did say she can go back to January, but what I was hoping to do was at least get something for this fiscal year and then go back and do the rest. It's not perfect, and I agree, but if we can at least get something to look at monthly that we know where we are in this fiscal year, I think it'd be a good start.
Doug has prepared, or unless there's more discussion about that, has prepared, would you have a copy of the EDA bank account balances as of 10/24/19? And I'll let him run through those for you.
Okay, so we've moved the money from our United checking and First Bank checking to our county account.
Does everybody have a copy of this?
Yeah.
So we know what we're looking at here.
Josh, I'll get you a copy, I'm sorry. In fact, so everyone hand him that one? So I just want to explain a couple of little items here. We moved the money, right after we moved the checking account money over, we were credited with $127.66 of interest. So all we have to do is just have the board authorize and write and sign a check for that amount. We'll move that over, and then we can close that out. First Bank checking, I talked to Greg Sasser at First Bank. I'm not sure how this happened, but after we moved that money, there was $414.28 that was still there. So I don't know if numbers got transposed or what, but we're going to do the same thing.
So when does that happen?
Huh?
When do we close these two accounts?
We can do it today.
Okay,
If we
let's
get
do it
after a
today.
board meeting, nobody take off that's authorized to sign these checks, and we'll have Heather cut them, we'll sign them, we'll take them to the county, they'll deposit them, and then we can close them out.
So we just give the county the checks to deposit, they don't
Right.
have to do anything.
Right, well, you guys will need to sign the checks, but other than that,
We sign the checks, when I'm getting, the county doesn't have to write any special checks or anything.
no.
Okay.
No, these are deposits.
So we'll take care of those today.
Yep. The United Bank IRP account, the old account for our IRP loans, all that money's been moved over to the new account, and that account is closed. On the CDs, in order to stay in compliance with our fiscal agency agreement to where the county has control over all of our money, we are going to add Jamie Spiker and Doug Stanley as authorized signatures to the CDs so that the county would have to approve of the cashing in of those CDs at some point in the future if we were to do that. So that gives that level of oversight there at the county for those monies.
Could we do that as a motion while we're still on finance?
Sure.
So a motion
I wanna, okay, well,
just to authorize the county administrator and the county treasurer as signatures on the United Bank CDs.
I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
yeah, I think that it has to be more than that. I think it has, in my view, what we need to do is that they have to be, sign on it so that the county has in essence a veto on it. That they just be signatories isn't sufficient, because then we could have two signatories from here and we don't need them. So what I think we need to have is something where they have to, the county has to sign off on it. So they have to be one of the signatories. Is that,
Well, we could just cash them in and give it to the county. Let them
Well, then we
decide
lose
what
our.
Then we lose the interest, we don't want to do that.
There's a $9,000 penalty associated with cashing them in early.
But I
We
thought
need that
changing
money.
the signatures took care of that. I thought this,
well,
This
this
would
is
make
just,
them-
this is saying it's adding them.
So we could structure the language of the motion to say that Jamie Spiker and Doug Stanley both must sign in order to cash them in, or the bank.
Just
Cherry, do
one.
you have a sign on this?
I don't, I'm not sure, you can certainly pass along that authority for one of them to sign. I don't think I'd require both.
I was
Or
gonna say that.
just because I'd leave that up to the bank, but just give them the authority to sign and require at least one county signature.
Okay.
If you wanna do it that way,
that'll work.
is that
And would you not do it, not by name, but by?
by position?
By position, that way
Yeah.
you don't have to worry if there's a change in positions down the road.
Yeah,
So
if the
I would
bank-
say the
bank is
county's
separate.
administrator or the attorney or, whatever positions they hold, one of those must sign along with an EDA member.
And I can make sure that the language from the bank's paperwork reflects that as well. If we had to pick one, would we pick the treasurer?
No, we're gonna let.
I don't,
either
I
or.
could let the bank pick or the county pick, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that might
so
be
the
more
county
flexible.
suggested both, but I can go back to them and ask them to pick one.
Well, I thought we were
No,
saying.
we're
How about
saying
either or?
Oh,
either.
it's oh,
Either or,
or.
yes,
Okay.
and that there be at least one county signature.
Yeah. Okay.
so the motion would be to approve the county administrator and or the county treasurer as signator on the United Bank CDs and require that at least one county representative sign any withdrawals or any item beyond the signatories.
Or if you would even, if you want to go a step higher, you could even have the chairman of the board of supervisors.
No, we just said
We don't
that
need more, we just
administrator and
need
treasurer.
in essence.
We really don't need to make it any more
Is
complicated.
there a second?
Second,
Discussion.
Yeah, what do we approve?
Well, yeah,
We're approving allowing the county administrator or the county treasurer to sign on the CDs.
So one signature from the county.
One from the county or one from us, or it could be two from the county, but it has to be at least one.
Thank you.
Yeah, does the bank have to approve this?
You know what I'm asking?
Well, we put the card with them, we'll sign the card, they'll have little bank cards, yes.
It's,
So they would have any
it
choice?
acts like.
And we have to give them probably the motion so that they know what the rules are.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the
Yes.
recommendation from United Bank to us to take this action.
So if we have a second?
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion-
Aye, sorry.
Motion is unanimous. Anything else in finance?
That's it for me.
Under what Mr. Brown was talking about on the priorities, would you look into creating a basic income and revenue statement projection
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
January to June 2020 period? To look into trying to project what our cash flow is going to be for the first 6 months of next year.
Now that I've finished all my budgets in my real job, I can do that. Got them all approved last night.
Assets Committee.
Okay, thank you for the sake of time. We'll talk about a couple of points. Hopefully, the report that I distributed is available for public inspection. There is quite a bit of information on there, but I really want to talk about 2 points, and that is the first one, the update on 1325 Progress Drive for the roof repair. That contract has been in the works, I should say, due to the lack of a full-time attorney, and making sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's. We're taking the extra precaution to make sure that we get this agreement done properly. It is a small amount, relatively speaking, but again, it's equally important. But Wells Roofing was the low bid on that. Their scope is complete, and we are just working through the contract process on that right now. I do want to thank Doug and his team in putting that together and executing on that and doing that in an expeditious manner. So I do thank you for that.
Do we want a motion approving this subject to the attorney completing the review so that we don't have to wait till the next meeting?
Yes,
I will support that.
yes.
Is there a second?
Wait, what's the language?
To authorize signature of the contract with Wells Roofing after the attorney has completed review. With this item down here.
Just the motion, you want to put a dollar on it?
Not to exceed, what was the contract amount for the roof?
35, I think.
We're talking about 404.
No.
About 1325 Progress.
It's not on.
That's a good idea, we should definitely have that on there.
Okay, so the base bid was $50,700. The alternate base bid was $45,600.
And which one are we at?
Which one are we going with?
I think we should go with the alternate bid.
Greg?
I would agree with that. Doug and I discussed that previously, and I support the alternate bid.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
The alternate base bid shall include all the work required in strict accordance with the bid documents, except a single ply shall be installed using mechanically fastened induction weld in place of fully adhered. The mechanically fastened induction weld system shall be attached as directed by the roofing manufacturer, which I think is an important stipulation because there will be materials manufacturers, inspectors on site to ensure that it's installed correctly. So that the manufacturer's warranty will be in effect. So,
Yeah, either method would be warranted by the manufacturer. It really comes down to what type of substrate is there, what's the application, there's a variety of factors that come into play. I mean, I've not looked at it, so I'm assuming someone has, but mechanically fastened versus fully adhered versus ballast, there's several different types of systems and they all have their applications. I mean, it could be perfectly fine, so if someone's looked at it and everybody's okay with that.
Fred Andre,
We're okay with this, Greg?
Mechanically fastened basically is code for big screws.
that Mark is correct on that. Technically fast and big screws, fully adhered is obviously fully glued down to the current substrate, so.
I'm sorry, and the amount is what?
45,000.
45,600.
And is the substrate and everything okay? So we don't need any contingency money to fix any underlayment or anything like that, or?
It's my understanding that it's.
So that's an all-inclusive number.
Right.
Is that all inclusive?
10-4.
Okay.
Thank y'all. So the motion will include the contract amount of $45,600.
So make a motion that that the contract with Wells Roofing be signed in the amount of $46,600.
After review by the
After
attorney.
review by the attorney.
45 cents.
45,600. 45,600.
45,600.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion is unanimous.
Who was the second on that? I'm sorry.
Okay, the last item I want to talk about on the asset management committee for sake of time is the work product that we're working on right now. Obviously, last meeting we did a tour of our real property assets, and I think that went very well. I think it put things into perspective for all of the members to actually see what we're dealing with out there. And then our next step in this phase is actually evaluating our land assets. And I met with Gretchen and Doug last week, and we have started the full review of our property binders. I had to look through the help of Gretchen, and she has graciously accepted and is diligently working on updating those binders with the additional documents that I've requested. As well, she is researching some of the other land assets that we have for their highest and best use as it relates to zoning and market opportunity. So that is I don't want to say it's a long-term process, but we're looking at having a more full report on that during the December meeting to understand where we are with that. There's a lot of property on the books that was showing through the Warren GIS website. A lot of that property is useless. It's swale, it's drainage areas. They are subdivided lots, but they're not suitable for anything. So it is rather deceiving when people review the EDA assets and they say we own all of this property, but 200 of those lots might be well contaminated, on the other side of the river. So we're going to try to put that in context to make sure that we understand and the public understands exactly what we're dealing with.
Thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Any questions?
I have a couple on, I just want to verify this, that from a sequencing standpoint, that we want to do the roof repairs here at Kendrick Lane before we want to, get the units ready for tenants by,
Yes,
doing that
that
work?
would be a prerequisite in my mind. I don't want any tenants going in there with the possibility of sustaining any property damage as a result of a leaking roof. I mean, that's just a liability that we don't need to incur.
Then, secondly, this is, I guess, in relationship to the Main Street Market, you have that you're going to be talking with me about abandonment legalities, and we're going to shift that to Sharon to have a discussion on that. So that's on the backside of that report, Sharon.
Yes. I appreciate the fact that whatever that process is going to be, we're going to do something to clean out the market. And I appreciate you working on that.
Yeah, that's really, again, I'll give credit to Gretchen on that. She's really going to project manage that project under my advisement and Doug's advisement. But I believe that we conceptually talked about a pretty solid plan out there, and had no reason to believe that it won't be fully executed upon.
Do we have the report on what the market costs?
Yeah, I think we had that in the closed session packet. Did you want to bring that out?
Yeah.
Some-
I wanna see what it is.
500,000 around
Okay.
480 of it.
It was the report that you did
Okay.
on what people owe us.
Right. Okay, well, okay, yeah.
So we're gonna pull that into open.
Okay, I'll show you the report here. Yeah, that's it, yes. Talking about the importance of looking at this building and getting things out of there. You can see here that we're about 56,000 in the hole for the last 4 or 5 months. And it continues to go that way, and we need to get it out of there, and we are owed a substantial amount of money from rent that has not been paid.
And the 19.9 there, that's insurance,
Thank you.
insurance payment. We'll take care of that, right? Repairs to the apartments, not yet paid, but due November 15th.
Right, the money received from the insurance company is $19,580.31. The repairs are $19,995.
So you have up above the 19.9 as our cost, plus the 17,000 here for the tenants, and then down below what we received back was 19,600. So it's basically 20,037.7 minus 19.6 is what we lost on that property in the last 6 months.
And we've not received any rental income this year.
To my knowledge, we have not. They have not paid anything. All this talk, that they didn't pay anything.
And who is that?
The former tenants,
Okay, we're talking about the March or the apartment, because there's.
for the market, the tenants my understanding is the tenants in the apartment house paid the tenants in the Stokes Market. But the Stokes Market tenants did not pay us.
We should get back to that money as well as the other one.
So, thank you. Anything else, Greg?
Again, for time's sake, I could certainly talk about a lot more, but if anybody has any questions, I'm here and I'm more than happy to expand upon anything, but those are really the key items I wanted to discuss.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm trying to understand, other than just exposing the numbers, what's the point of the action that we're taking tonight?
We don't have to take any action with this. I wanted you to see it.
I think if we take action, it should be in closed session.
I don't think you have to do, that's fine. You don't have to do anything right here, sir. This is for your information to see what this thing is costing us.
I know just the flood insurance is $12,000.
It's $12,000 on insurance alone.
And I think just to just editorialize on what Dr. Patterson said, you might discuss it in executive session, but you decide to take action, you'll do that back in an open session.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sure you meant that, but I just want to make clear.
Thank you.
It's always good to remind us.
I need one of these now.
All right, before we move to the next one, guys, I gotta go. I've got an expensive project underway, and I do not like these things being done when I'm not there.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have to head out. This is an expensive situation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
See you next time.
But I think anything else we wanted to do with this, we would do in closed session. I want you to see it. Anything else in the Assets Committee, Greg? Thank you. Communications.
There are 2 things I wanted to talk about. One is to have a group discussion. We've been working the communications and the executive committee on improving and shortening meetings. The things that we've been doing, and we saw today, so we've had 2 full board meetings. We've been trying some of these and then today. But the things that we've done is getting the meeting agendas, minutes, and reports early in the week in board meetings so they can be read and digested. That's happened. We've constituted committees to focus on key parts of our mission and report to the full board. Then we are encouraging everyone who is giving reports that they are allowed to make oral presentations, as I am doing right now, but that they are optional, that we're trying to move this in more quickly. And finally, we've suggested the use of a consent agenda. We haven't used the concept yet. I just wanted to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. If you have other ideas, I think that from my standpoint, that the meetings have been too long, that we want to focus on the things that we really need to focus on and read and be prepared. So if there are any thoughts, suggestions, I just figured this was a good opportunity to ask that. Any?
It's good.
We happy? We're sad?
We're making progress.
We're making progress, okay.
We got ways to go.
All right. The other things I think are reasonably self-explanatory. Website development is one of the most critical things that I think the Communications Committee is doing. We've had to put it on the back burner just because of other things going on, but it's coming back on the front burner. We are. I've been working with Doug. We're meeting both with Queen Consulting that manages our website, and what's the name of the other firm? I forgot it. The one that we have a second contract.
Well, that's for public relations, that's not related to.
Yeah, okay, good. So we met with Dee Whited, who's a writer. She has done a lot of work in this area, does a lot of work with Felicia Hart, who does tourism and community development, and we are getting recommendations and meeting with web designers so that we can start as quickly as possible to get an RFP, RFQ going to work on website development. So it's going to be an effort to do it, but my sense is by the beginning of the year, I'd love to have sometime early next year, have a website that is fully redesigned and modernized. That's what I've got.
Noting your meetings up here, this real estate open house.
Yes.
It would really be good to have these buildings cleaned up before we show them.
It's a good timing question.
Yeah.
In terms of doing this, I know that we don't have a date set yet for that. Well, we are trying to do the spotted lanternfly infestation awareness campaign, kicking that off this year. And my sense is that it's probably early next year that we want to try to do the open house.
Okay.
If we can have our offices over here cleaned up by the time we do it, I think we do it. Otherwise, I think you probably still go ahead with it and get it going. But it's something to put into consideration as we look at the timing of it. Maybe early spring would be when we'd be doing that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Anything for communications, anyone? Okay, Executive Director's report.
Okay, try to hit the highlights here in the interest of time. Financial management, we're working with the county's finance department to streamline our processes so that we can reduce the number of special checks over there and be respectful of their time as well as ours. So we're working with Ivy and the staff over there on that. We're also preparing for the financial and civil rights compliance review for the RBEL and IRP loans through the USDA program. And we've established a separate account for the RBEL or micro loans
At the county?
at the county.
Okay.
Yes. So, so now we'll be able to get those monies into that account and begin to work backward through time to get a handle on that. We're also working on setting up automatic deposits into the county IRP and RBEL accounts for our loan clients, as well as an automatic withdrawal to the USDA annually for a principal payment. And then the interest payments are quarterly, or are they annually as well? They're annually? Okay, super. So we're working on that. I won't go over 1325 Progress Drive, except to say that we're working on the contract, and we love having Sharon and Jeff to help us through that. Kendrick Lane, the apartments, I'll just say real quick, the tenants are back in the apartments, and actually since I've written this, the work is pretty well done, I believe. I need to get a hold of the contractor and see if there's any other touch-up items they want.
He was down there yesterday.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
He was down there yesterday.
Great, great. We also have an interested party in purchasing the apartment, so we can discuss that in closed. 426 Ball Drive, we showed the property representatives of the Economic Development Partnership and the Virginia Inland Port last week. They were very impressed with the condition of the building and promised to continue to market it with us. We can talk a little bit more about that in closed as well. Prospects, we've had 2 new major prospects for one of our properties. I'm very excited about both of these, and I'm looking forward to working with them. We're also in negotiation with two other prospects for other properties, which we'll discuss in closed as well. I attended the public hearing for the new Virginia Inland Port Logistics Center on October 9th to support the rezoning application, as well as the rezoning for the McKay Springs property. I think it's a very good sign for the county that Equus Partners is making such an enormous investment in a 324,000 square foot building in Warren County. It shows a lot of faith, I think, in the private sector in our county, and especially Virginia Inland Port, who's undergoing a $15 million expansion out there. Collaborative initiatives, the DCI Workforce Project is continuing. The phase 1, internal and external research, should be done by Monday. Phase 2, the analysis and insights, by November 18th. Phase 3, the marketing, by December the 2nd. Also under collaborative initiatives, I'm just going to go off script here for just a second. I had a very good meeting with a representative of George Mason University, and the gentleman's name is Jim Wolf, and he is an outstanding individual, and I was blown away with his experience and his intellect, and he has pledged to work with us on a few ideas that we're going to explore to help small business and entrepreneurs, and I'm looking forward to developing some of those ideas with him and coming back and sharing them with you. Leech Run Parkway, I think we've went over that. God willing, we'll get the sod installed out there and put this never-ending project behind us.
Question, does VDOT owe us any money?
I don't know that.
On Leech Run?
Yeah.
Not to
My understanding is that VDOT, that this was done in 2 tiers, and that 1 tier was included VDOT money, and 1 tier did not.
Okay.
And I'm just curious whether VDOT owes us any money for any part of this.
I'll hunt that up.
Well, I don't need it right now, I'd just like to know.
I was gonna say, part of what Doug and I are working on is exactly what you were talking about, is to come up with what's not been billed, what we are owed, so that you know not only what we have, but potentially what
What's
we're
coming
going to
in.
have and coming in. So
Yeah.
he and I talked yesterday on that, so
Okay.
we'll have that for you.
I'll run that thing.
Thank you.
VEDP site characterization project, they picked Warren County to participate in a test pool of local EDOs to receive the draft reports and give comments back to the State Development Office on the user friendliness of the reports, so to speak. So we had a good conversation about that, and I got a sneak peek at what the reports will look like. It's going to be kind of like the Oklahoma land rush. here in Virginia as local EDOs race to invest to increase the tier rankings of their properties. Of the 466 sites across the state that are 25 acres or greater that have been studied under this, 90% of them are only at tier 2. So who's going to invest to make their properties more competitive to win the business? That's the question. And so hopefully Warren County will be able to do so. And separate but related is our rezoning efforts out there on Happy Creek. And we will increase the tier ranking of the 2 parcels that get rezoned from tier 1 to tier 2. A lot of the phase 1 environmental work and other work will help to get them up to 3 or 4 down the road, but we're going to have to invest in ALPHA surveys, which are expensive, wetlands delineations, and the rare, threatened, endangered species and culturals studies and so forth, which are cumbersome. So, business retention, I cannot name who it is, but we did meet with a major employer in Warren County this month, along with the inland port, to discuss 2 potential expansion projects at that facility, for which we will be in competition with other states. I have no interest in losing to these other states when it comes to an existing business in our county. The inland port presented port-related tax credits to the client that they will qualify for, and VEDP has been excellent in presenting an overview of the state incentives that they would be eligible for, which would include the Virginia Jobs Investment Program, I believe, and the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund. These expansions will be very significant, I think, and as the metrics develop, we'll work with the county to see if there are any county incentives that we might be able to add to the mix to be even more competitive. Public outreach over the last month, I participated with Patrick Barker from Frederick County and Sean Hirschberger in Winchester with the Blue Ridge Association of Realtors Annual Economic Summit. We had a very good discussion about what the future holds for this region, and I appreciate their having us up. Also spoke with the Rotary Club, where I met Jim Wolf from GMU, so that alone was well worth it. And also spoke with Heart Networking yesterday and the Board of Supervisors meeting in the beginning of October. That's me.
Question, the 15 million at the inland port, how many people is it gonna add to the employment there?
I don't believe it'll add any employment at the port. What they're adding are rail lines into the inland port so that they can better marshal and maneuver around the train cars and the trucks and the big machines that...
Yeah, I went to the open house a year ago and I was amazed that they only have 15 employees to operate that place.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And 2 of those are the big things that unload and unload that are setting up about 5 stories high.
Yeah, it's like something out of Star Wars. Absolutely.
Can we look at the schedule of note payments for a second?
Sure.
I'm looking at the First Bank and Trust, the $40,000. That is actually offset by the payment from Mr. Trank
Yes.
each month. And the county pays for Blah Drive.
Right. They reimburse us quarterly for our principal and interest outlay of $22,450.
So if I subtract the 150, take the 155.82 and I subtract 62,450, that's 88,132. That is actually
Our cash.
us,
That's the
our
net going
cash.
out the door.
And I see down here there's 21,889. That's the monthly payment for the police department?
That is
Yes,
correct.
so and by the way, we just had another significant draw request from the town and we are processing that.
I think we want to talk about that.
I think we do too.
Okay.
Yeah, I would want to talk about that pretty extensively, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
They owe us, the current balance I see here is 8,755. How much have they paid on this police station?
How much have they paid on
Yeah, how
that?
much have they paid back to us?
None,
Yeah.
0.
So we're over 8 million that we're carrying for them.
Right, right. Now, there are some construction items that need to take place out there to finish out the project, and
But the balance is 8,755. I'm not talking about what's left or anything. I'm saying there's 8,755 that we have paid.
right, well, let me be clear. The 8755 figure you're seeing is the balance of the loan for the police
Okay.
department.
Okay.
Remembering the January draws when more was brought down than what was needed, we have $314,000 of that 8755 sitting in our checking account that is earmarked specifically for
The police department.
the police department.
What was the draw amount that they just requested?
I,
Oh, it's 200,000.
Okay, so we still have some money that would be left.
So I don't want to get off track, but they owe us about at least 8.4 million. And they have paid nothing.
that is correct. So the amount for this recently requested draw of October 22nd is $243,848.48 to Vesting Construction and another $893.84 to JTS LLC.
And that we should defer to closed session. So we will defer that. And I see there's also $4,000 paid monthly on Leach Run if there's a balance of $900,000.
Correct.
That
Then-
is, go
Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry, my bad, go ahead.
That's the amount that we are on, basically with the EDA right now is on the hook for.
Correct.
Where there's $900,000 that we're carrying, our deficit, this 41 million includes 900,000 for each one. That should be billed to others when they get this closed.
Right. So
Okay.
that would be taken out of the permanent financing at some point along with the police department. Another quick note, the two dinky loans there for $6,099 and $16,968, those payoff statements have been generated. They've been coded and signed by the board and they're over at the county for processing of it.
And those two will be paid off.
Those will be paid off.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
We'll take those out.
So we'll take those out.
And to reiterate the fact that we'll be closed, but the police department the town has been billed for the police department.
This is correct.
We did bill the town for police
We had
department.
that was last month.
Yeah, it was about a month ago
Over a
with the
month,
current
yes.
balance at that time.
So there's no confusion about what it is. We've already billed them.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Do we want to invite Carolyn in? That, I think that's our next item. And then we'll go into closed session. Because part of that she's going to do an open and then part of it's